In my recent trip to Singapore, the second hotel I stayed is Raffles Sentosa, a hotel that has been the talk of the town lately. I mean, I probably don't need to state the obvious. Everyone knows how legendary and prestigious the Raffles brand is in Singapore, so going into this stay, my expectations were honestly pretty high. So, if you just want to see how amazing the hardware and aesthetics are, the first tab of this video is perfect for you. But if you want to know how absolutely infuriating this stay got, you definitely want to stick around for the second half. First, let's talk about the check-in experience. When you arrive at a lobby, you are greeted by a dedicated butler who personally handles your service. He then escorts you and your luggage onto a buggy to drive you straight to your villa door. Every single room here at Raffles Sentosa is a villa, so each one is at least 2,000 square feet. Well, if it's your very first time staying at this type of property, then it's definitely pretty wow. But honestly, the entire check-in vibe is incredibly similar to Capella Singapore. Having stayed at Capella 5 times over the past decade, apart from the fact that Capella doesn't require a buggy ride for regular rooms, the experience didn't really blow me away. Moving on to the room itself, I have to agree that it exudes great vibe. But again, I stayed at a one-bedroom villa at Capella back in 2018, and the vibe is actually quite déjà vu. On top of that, there's a design flaw here, or maybe it's just my personal preference, where the living room and the bedroom are completely separated into left and right wings, and it's just not my cup of tea. Think about it, Singapore is consistently over 30 degrees Celsius every day. After lounging by the pool, you want to cool down in the AC. At Capella, the layout flows seamlessly from the living area to the bedroom, so you enjoy continuous air conditioning wherever you walk. But here, if you're watching TV in the living room at night and want to go to bed, you actually have to step back outside, get blasted by the tropical humidity, and then walk into the bedroom. I guess that's just an inherent limitation of the site's layout, but I feel the specific design makes you don't want to linger for too long unless you enjoy basking in the sunlight for the whole time. The bathroom layout is supposed to be the highlight of the villa. First off, it's massive, complete with both the shower and bathtub, and the finishes definitely lift up to the premium price tag, but once again, it feels extremely Capella. Now that's not inherently a bad thing, but when you're staying at a legendary brand like Raffles, and the room feels like nothing more than an updated version of Capella without carving out its own identity, it feels like a bit of an anticlimax. That said, you really have to admire how forward-thinking Norman Foster was when he designed Capella back in the 2000s. I can tell you right now, a standard room at Capella has a bathroom and amenities just as spacious as this villa. Isn't that ridiculous? When it comes to food, I tried the Chinese restaurant, Royal China, as well as a breakfast at the Western restaurant. Let's start with the Chinese dinner, where I ordered the set menu. I have to say the staff service was incredibly attentive, highly personal without being intrusive, and the knowledge of the menu was spot on. In terms of food execution, some dishes like the chilled salmon roll with fresh bean curd skin and the fish puree with egg yolk soup were beautifully refined and memorable. However, the more standard dishes like the barbecue platter, spicy shrimp balls, and wagyu beef fell short in terms of ingredient quality. Some cuts were a bit rough, and the flavors were fairly predictable. The rest, like the ifu noodle, was decent but unremarkable. Again, if you compare it to Cassia at Capella, it clearly pales in comparison, not to mention Shang Palace at the Shangri-La Singapore, which still holds a special place in my heart. Now, as for the breakfast, this was the absolute MVP of the stay. The menu offers an extensive array of choices. For around 70-odd Singapore dollars, it includes high-quality kaya toast, pastries, detox juices, and a made-to-order egg station. Every single item was executed to perfection, and the service was flawless. What makes it even better is that the restaurant sits right next to this gorgeous pool view, making the whole experience incredibly chill and relaxing. This was a solid win for Raffles Sentosa. Speaking of the pool, let's look at the other fitness facilities. The gym is housed inside a building that used to be the Sofitel Soul Spa. The equipment is sufficient for a resort, but convenience depends heavily on which villa you're staying in. If you're in Villa 1 or Villa 18 right across from it, you're super close. Otherwise, you'll likely find yourself calling a buggy just to get there. And speaking of this facility, now renamed the Raffles Spa, you might have probably guessed that Raffles Sentosa and the neighboring Sofitel are closely intertwined. If Sofitel guests want to book a spa treatment, they're treated like second-class citizens because Raffles has taken over the facility. Yet for certain amenities, Raffles actually relies on Sofitel. For example, if you want to take the shuttle bus to Vivo City, Raffles guests have to walk over to Sofitel to catch it. Similarly, if you want direct access to Tanjong Beach without walking down a steep slope in the flip-flops, you have to cut through the Sofitel property. So, to summarize, if you're a typical influencer who thrives on clout, perceived lifestyle value, and fear of missing out, this hotel is a match made in heaven for you. Hardware-wise, it's new, massive, and luxurious. You get chauffeured around in a buggy like royalty. People who haven't experienced high-end luxury might suddenly feel like aristocrats. If that's your vibe, this product is absolutely for you. But not for me. The entire stay felt like they weren't ready yet. The concierge in particular messed up repeatedly. For example, I sent an airport transfer request and it took them over a day to reply. Then they booked the wrong time for the airport transfer, which almost caused me to miss my flight. The buggy service was also late, leaving me baking in the sun and almost making me miss the Sofitel shuttle bus. These kinds of blunders are inexcusable at any standard hotel, let alone Raffles property. Furthermore, as I mentioned, some facilities like the shuttle bus to Vivo City have to be shared to Sofitel guests. The spa facilities were just converted from Sofitel's original Soul Spa. For a top-tier hotel that markets itself on exclusivity, how did it end up sharing a shuttle bus like the Sheraton and 4 Points in Tongchong? At least for the latter, you can catch the bus right outside the lobby without needing a buggy ride first. But the final straw that absolutely set me off was the safe, which you could literally pick it up and walk away with. When I brought this up to a staff member, their immediate response was, "Our security here is very tight. If security is so tight, why even bother having a safe? I might as well just leave my cash on the table. If Singapore is that safe, why not just leave your valuables at the front door?" If you look at the villa's design, basically anyone dressed in beachwear can wander in and out without raising eyebrows, and we all know exactly how low the perimeter walls of each villa are. The bedroom and living room doors can only be locked from the inside, not the outside. The only thing you can lock from the outside is the main front gate, so if I don't lock the gate properly, this safe is completely pointless. As for the transportation booking mishap, they did end up waiving the return transfer fee, but I told them straight to the face, I'm not staying quiet about this. I'm still writing a TripAdvisor review, and it's getting 3 stars max. They even asked if there was any recovery action they could take to get a high rating. I cut them off immediately. No, because to me, a miserable staying experience cannot be compensated. I can't afford the money. If I could, I'd rather pay you back just to buy my peace of mind.